Good morning, Scott. The Steel Association is the latest group frustrated by trade moves out of Ottawa. Why do you think the federal government moved to put these new exemptions in place?
Because the alternative would have been to further aggravate Donald Trump and he would have lashed out harder at more sectors and made pain even more unbearable, particularly at a time when we do have senior officials in Washington trying to land and secure some kind of agreement that might even potentially involve steel and aluminum. So it's a balancing act. It is bound to draw criticism. It is bound to draw questions. But I think right now the Prime Minister and the government are judging that their number one imperative is to keep Trump moving in a positive direction and don't do anything to further aggravate it, because he is such an unpredictable and punitive president.
Now, this week, a big blow for the auto sector, with Stellantis moving production from Brampton, Ontario, south of the border, and also new tariffs on lumber and trucks. How should the government respond?
Well, first and foremost, you have to do everything you can to support the workers and industries that have been hit hard. So we've seen some of that from the government. My guess is the budget coming up in a couple of weeks will feature even further support packages for those workers. Try to keep their heads afloat while, in the medium term, we work something out on these bilateral trade sectors. I think the longer term game plan here, clearly, for Canada is try and protect CUSMA. Now, not many of those sectors we've mentioned are protected by the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. But the point is, if we can't keep CUSMA alive, if we can't get son of CUSMA, if we can't continue to have access to 85% of the U.S. market tariff-free, which we have now, then we are in real peril. And the kinds of discussions we're having today will be much more intense, much more sweeping, and we would feel it in virtually every sector of our economy.
We're hearing trade talks are ongoing with senior government officials, including Dominic LeBlanc, spending much of the past week in Washington. How soon do you think the Carney government needs to show some definitive progress?
You know, that's a tough question to answer. There's an economic and a political answer to that. Economically, we can probably carry along, supporting industry, covering them with the public dollar for a little bit. Politically, it's really a haste, because I think on the one hand, Canadians recognize the Prime Minister's in a terrible position trying to negotiate with someone as unpredictable and frankly ungracious and difficult as Trump. On the other hand, this can't go on forever. And if there is no prospect, if Dominic LeBlanc, the clerk of the Privy Council, is there, so they're putting serious firepower into whatever is going on behind closed doors. Those doors don't open soon with a deal. You can bet the Canadians are going to demand that we take ours out on Trump. And then we get into a trade war with a giant who has much larger capacity to harm us.
We'll have to leave it there, Scott. Thank you very much. Great chatting with you.
Thanks, Renee.
That is Scott Reid, CTV News political commentator.